Whether you are a fantasy football player or a sports bettor, this is a very valuable video for you on your cheat sheet, your NFL Rookie of the Year odds, brought to you by OffshoreInsiders.com. Joe Duffy's Picks, your NFL specialist, the premier source for NFL winners at OffshoreInsiders.com, www.offshoreinsiders.com. Kind of surprised to see Ezekiel Elliott is such an overwhelming favorite for the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, obviously, if Tony Romo comes back healthy and Ezekiel Elliott can be that missing piece at running back, I can see how Elliott would get a lot of credit for the transformation. The Cowboys are a reasonable candidate to win the Super Bowl, especially, as I said, if Romo and certainly if Romo does come back and he's returned to his old form and Ezekiel Elliott lives up to expectations. But surprised to see him such a big favorite. But then again, Jared Goff, I think, is going to be a bust. I really wasn't all that impressed with him in California. I think he's a very good college quarterback, but one of these guys I think makes too many mistakes. So really pretty wide open. Carson Wentz, who of course was the second pick in the NFL draft. Now there's some talk that he will not even be active in week one. It does look like the tea leaves say that, unlike quarterbacks in the recent years, for the last 5 years or so, where they're expected to start if you're drafted in the top 5 or 10, I think Wentz is most likely going to be brought along slowly, and Bradford is probably going to be the Eagles' quarterback of the present. So you can kind of understand that despite the fact that he's a quarterback and despite the fact that he was picked so high, he is not among the top 5 or 6 favorites when it comes to the Rookie of the Year candidates. I do have a nice dark horse, I believe, coming up in a moment. Not actually a moment, it is a true dark horse. He's a little bit further down, but here's some more ones to say. Obviously, Braxton Miller, one of the best athletes out there. Maybe he might be a decent long shot. A lot of people think that Paxton Lynch could be the best quarterback in the draft, and he fairly reasonable. Look, Malcolm Mitchell, a talented player coming off of an injury, but he is hopefully healthy, and he is definitely, at plus 5,000, pretty good. And by the way, I should have said this up front. What are these odds? What do they mean? Plus 3,000. If you, for example, bet on, say, Braxton Miller at plus 4,000, that is based on $100 per bet. So yeah, it is basically 40 to 1. You can get 40 to 1 odds on Braxton Miller to win it. But again, those are the odds, and I do think that Mitchell has a decent shot at being a dark horse candidate. Yes, enjoy the fruits of our labor at OffshoreInsiders.com. Don't know if that beautiful young lady is the forbidden fruit or not, but certainly the forbidden fruit is not our picks. You're welcome to have them. OffshoreInsiders.com includes the Master Lock Line, the power of 620 sports services behind each and every play. And the Master Lock Line actually goes back to 1980 on the Score Phone days. The top-rated picks from the top-rated handicappers in their top-rated sports. And there is the next list of favorites. Tyler Boyd, as you can see, at plus 6,000. Again, some of these guys, pretty good athletes and could be dark horses, but my best dark horse, he's coming up on the next page. Is it Cardale Jones? Not necessarily, but I can see how he might be a pretty good dark horse as well. But please make note of those Twitter and Chris, you want to follow us here on YouTube. Subscribe to us if you're a fantasy football player or a gambler. Absolutely subscribe to us, because we're going to have the odds all year that are valuable to the fantasy football players, as far as some over-unders on receptions and touchdowns, and it's really going to help you make your lineup. A lot of my clients, Joe Duffy's Picks at OffshoreInsiders.com, they tell me that they believe that the Vegas and offshore odds are the best cheat sheets for their fantasy football at either FanDuel, DraftKings, etc. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel for sure. But again, those odds are based on $100 per bet. So if, for example, you bet Paul Perkins, you win $7,500 on a $100 bet. Not bad at 75 to 1. Now, Christian Hackenberg, I think he is far and away the best dark horse possibility. Why? Because, look, there's a job to be won on the Jets, and the Jets are really a team that's got a very good defense. What they're really lacking is a quarterback. And Hackenberg, if you looked a couple years ago and even this time last year, a lot of people had him as the top quarterback in the draft. And there were people when he was a freshman thinking that he was the best quarterback prospect out there. So, coaches who believe, just give me talent and I'll coach them up. A lot of people think Christian Hackenberg has the raw talent. He, unlike the quarterbacks that were drafted high, he's taking over a team that they're missing piece. is a good quarterback. So Hackenberg, I think, is tremendous at plus 15,000. Are you kidding me? Cardell Jones, another one of these guys with the great arm. Of course, he did show that he has some physical ability there and also the ability to win a national championship. But I really do think that Hackenberg perhaps is the best dark horse candidate, especially if you believe that, look, he's just maybe not a guy who was in the right system at Penn State, and that those people who rated him as the best prospect this time last year and when he was a freshman, if they were right, Christian Hackenberg, I think, is far and away the best dark horse candidate relative to the odds. But remember, the best picks in the world, offshoreinsiders.com, www.offshoreinsiders.com.